Thank you very much for taking your time and be on CNA. It's been an honor to be in your country. This is your second stint as Prime Minister. You have been Prime Minister a decade ago. You have been re-elected into office. When you look back and compare these two times, when you have started this second stint as Prime Minister again, what was the most striking thing, the most striking difference to your first term when you entered your second term?
When we entered the first term and this term, what's similar is that during both terms we've had economic problems. However, during this term, as we entered this term, the economic problems seem to be graver and people seem to be a lot more concerned about our economic situation. So that is the biggest difference.
Are they also a lot more pessimistic about what is going on?
They are a lot more hopeful in the sense that the COVID pandemic has hit our economy particularly hard. And I say particularly hard because our economy is small to begin with. It is weak. It is shallow. And the pandemic hit our economy. And when the pandemic hit our economy has not been able to recover as it should have. And because of that, people were concerned. Now with a new government, most people feel like we've turned the page to a new chapter and there's hope. We have to deliver on that.
One thing that when you read about reports about Bhutan is the high youth unemployment and the brain drain of young talents leaving the country. I mean, obviously that has been a concern even before you came into office, right?
Yes, yes. So overall unemployment at about 5%, little over 5.5%, is more or less manageable. But youth unemployment at 29% is unacceptably high. Many of our youth are going abroad and looking for prospects, job prospects outside our country, which is good and bad. Good because it shows that our youth are wanted elsewhere. It shows that our youth have the skills and the mindset to be of value outside our country. So that's the positive part. The negative part, obviously, the risky part, is that we know that most of the youth will come back. We hope that they will come back. They are always welcome. But in the meantime, we have a country to run. And this country is a small country. Our entire population is barely 700,000 people. So we need people here also to rebuild our economy and our country.
Is one of the reasons why we are seeing these kind of challenges and these kind of issues also due to the mismatch that we have on the labor market, meaning that the skills of the people, of the laborers that are coming in, does not match what is available on the market?
Yeah, there is a mismatch, but there's also a vacuum in the sense that we are producing more youth. More youth are completing their schools and entering the work market, labor force, than our economy is able to absorb, number one. Yeah, our economy is not growing, at least in terms of providing gainful employment at the rate at which our education system is producing our youth from at the rate at which our youth are graduating from our education system. That's one problem. The other problem is, while our economy requires a lot of workers, a lot of these workers are low-skilled, low-paid jobs. And so our youth who've completed high school and who most of them have even completed college will not go for those jobs. So in that sense, there is a mismatch.
Now then, we want to pivot towards the opportunities now. What brings the people hope? With your government coming in and also His Majesty the King saying last December, giving in a speech, basically saying that there needs to be a wholesale change of the economy. When you heard that for the first time, what were your thoughts?
Like all Bhutanese, I was very excited. I still am very excited. This is the biggest vision for a small country. This is the biggest vision that we have received. And we know, one, that the Gaelifu Mindfulness City will succeed. It must succeed. It will succeed. And when it does, while it benefits the region, it will first and foremost benefit Bhutan and the Bhutanese people. So it does give us a lot of hope.
Now let's jump right into the Galefu Mindfulness City, which is basically the tentpole, the headline, more or less, of not only what His Majesty the King said, but the headline of this economic change that Bhutan should be leading. We were down in Galefu earlier this week to see the area, the land where the city will be one day there. It is a vast place. It is huge, definitely bigger than Singapore. And but also the concept that you are proposing, that it is a modern city, but with many different aspects that you don't see in other mega cities. Mindfulness, environmental conservation. When I saw this for the first time, and forgive me for saying this, but it looks too good to be true. I mean, what are you telling the naysayers that are saying that this is too good to be true?
Well, gross national happiness, if you think about a country not just adopting the development philosophy of gross national happiness, but imbibing its ideals and principles of balancing economic growth, sustainable economic growth, with social progress and equity, with preservation of the culture and the environment, and with good governance, don't you think it sounds too good to be true? Don't you think that the concept of having a country not just carbon neutral, but carbon negative, sounds too good to be true? Don't you think that a country, one of the poorest in the world, being able to provide free education, free universal education, and universal health care, free universal health care, don't you think it sounds too good to be true? Don't you think that a country where a monarch, a country that has an absolute monarch, that imposes democracy on its people, don't you think that's too good to be true? So, this is reality for Bhutan. We have our challenges. We've taken the difficult path. We've had our challenges. But for many people, this seems to be the ideal. And we in Bhutan, while we are poor, we have our challenges, we are fortunate enough to live these ideals, to enjoy these ideals, to enjoy, to be the custodians of a world's unique culture and tradition, to live in a country that's lush and green, and a carbon negative country that's a biological hotspot, to have the confidence that our children can go to school, that my children will have free health care, that we can take part in a democratic process to choose and hold our government to account and to choose the next government. If that is true for Bhutan, Galefu Mindfulness City, you should be able to imagine it. You should be able to imagine a new form of urban living, not a mega city as you put it. It won't be a mega city. It will be a modern city, not a mega city, but a city in which humans live in harmony with other humans and bring out the best in other humans. A city in which, an area in which, a living space in which humans live in harmony with nature, where spirituality and sustainability can live in harmony with human growth and progress, happiness and well-being. So right now, this is the beginning of a journey. So if you go to Galefu, you would see a blank canvas, 2,000 square kilometers, 3 times the size of Mumbai, 3 times the size of Singapore. 2,000 square kilometers, which has many waterways, but 2 big perennial rivers, one of which can generate large amounts of renewable energy. This area has 2 protected areas, protected forests, old protected forests. They are hotspots for biodiversity. And these 2 protected areas are connected by a biological corridor. A lot of old farms, terraces, rice terraces, And I do believe that we can create an urban living space, not necessarily to be a model for the rest of the world, but definitely an inspiration for the rest of the world.
This can-do spirit that you just have shown me, I mean, it seems to me, especially in the beginning part when you told me about all the achievements that Bhutan has done so far, it seems that this can-do spirit has always been there. It's just that it just needed a new reignitement.
Yes, and we've got to be cognizant of the new realities. So what is our biggest challenge? Economic development. Why is there a challenge? Because we've been very, very conservative. We've been very inward looking.
Have you also been too careful in that regard?
That's why I say conservative. Yeah. And what the Gelefu Mindfulness City does is it actually opens our minds while keeping us true to our values and beliefs, our traditions and spirituality, our sense of sustainability. But it allows us to open ourselves to the rest of the world.
And so this is also why this is a special administrative zone where, okay, to be fair, I was reprimanded the other day when I named it an experiment. So basically,
you can call it an experiment.
Yeah.
I call it a journey.
Yep. So, but
You
you
can
would
call
agree,
it an experiment.
but you would agree that this is something new. Basically, this is a
Yeah.
test bed, a sandbox, so to speak, about what
For us,
of trying new things.
for us, it's not a test bed. It's not a sandbox. It's the start of a journey, an epic journey. A sandbox, a test bed, an experiment implies that you don't know what you're doing and you're just figuring things out as you go along.
Then this is as I said, it's a vast sweeping change that affects a lot of different sectors. I mean, the labor market, the private sector needs to be developed. But then obviously, of course, one of the things about the Gelefu Mindfulness City is that it is an invitation to the world to invest as well. I mean, you have posted on social media earlier this year that Bhutan is open for business, and this is basically the starting bell, the starting bell for foreign investment to come into the country. But obviously, this is something that you would have to abide to the values what the Gelefu Mindfulness City stands for. Is that correct?
Yeah. So when I say Bhutan is open for business, it's Bhutan, not just Gelefu. Yeah. Overall. Now for Gelefu Mindfulness City, there's a special invitation. But businesses must be consistent with the ideals on which Gelefu Mindfulness is being started on. So you can't just have a mindfulness city based on high ideals and values and then have any and all type of businesses coming in. They will be vetted.
This is one of the thoughts that I had when I was researching this project. Basically, when we look around, that you will be selective, that you will be vetting very carefully with partners that are fitting to this mindfulness city. But we are looking in the world and we are seeing that for people that, to put it bluntly, that their religion is money.
Yeah, there are people in the world, as you put it, their religion is money. But you sit and talk with them. There's a deeper calling. Yeah, and they're looking for, if they haven't, actually most people have found purpose in life. It's not just money. Yeah, I'm talking about the rich people. Yeah. For the few that haven't, you have a conversation with them, and what we imagine in this journey resonates with them. It's not just, I'm interested in money and that's it. No, they want a larger purpose. And maybe because of that, and maybe because of His Majesty the King's vision, the power of his vision, and the fact that he's very charismatic, we have many people who are interested already. So you can rest assured that a lot of the investment is going to be by invitation.
Okay, I have a hypothesis, and I would like you to ask you whether or not you agree or disagree with this, and feel free to call me out on this as well. With all the many elements of the Gelefu Mindfulness City, especially the focus on spirituality and mindfulness, and conservation. So that, again, going back to what I said, that's for some people, their religion is money. Can this be also considered as a antithesis to modern day capitalism?
I won't say antithesis.
Or an alternative?
Conscious capitalism, mindful capitalism. Capitalism works, right? I think it's good also.
But something to coexist with what we have right now.
Yeah. I mean, my experience is that people, the more successful people are, monetarily or otherwise, financially or otherwise, the more they seek out otherworldly things. They also seek out nature. They want to be with nature. They want to live a sustainable life. They want to leave something for the next generation. So it's not like, what did you call it? An alternative to capitalism.
Or an antithesis to capitalism.
Antithesis, right. Yeah. It's. I think it's not. I think it's just mindful capitalism.
I want to talk about the environment, and I want to talk about, especially you have been very well known for your advocacy in environmentalism, and you have also been on the world stage, for example, the TED Talks, pointing out Bhutan's leading role in environmentalism. It can be justifiably be proud of being a carbon negative country, getting most, if not all, of its power from hydroelectricity. But one thing that also is what you have also put out in your talks on the world stage is about Bhutan's vulnerability to climate change. That basically Bhutan is one of the countries that are bearing the brunt of it.
Yeah.
So the question here is that, especially when you think about hydroelectricity and the renewable energies that Bhutan is getting, is there a risk that hydro energy is exposed to climate change, and then therefore you're looking into ways to diversify your energy sources?
Yes, hydropower plants all run off the river. They are sustainable. They are not big reservoir projects. But they require sustainable flow of water. This comes from our glaciers. Now you ask if a hydropower game plan can be affected by climate change. And the answer is yes. You look at our mountains, our high mountains, we look at them with reverence. We don't allow people to, by law, we are not allowed to climb our mountains. Yet, that's the front line of where climate change is actually happening, where it's taking a toll. That's where climate change is taking a big toll, in our mountains. So our mountains, the snows, the glaciers are not as strong as before. Glaciers are melting much more quickly. That is making our waters, perhaps in the future, the flow will not be as sustainable. But in the immediate term, as glaciers melt, the glacial lakes at the bottom of the glaciers, those could flood, and then when they flood, they cause huge flooding downstream. So we are in the front line of climate change. And we look at the mountains where we looked with reverence and worshipped. That's where the biggest toll is taking place. How soon will it happen in terms of our rivers no longer being sustainable and no longer be financially sustainable for our hydropower? This is in the future, but we've got to be mindful, and yes, we've got to diversify. We've got to diversify our energy source, from hydroelectricity to solar and wind and biomass. But also we've got to diversify our economy, from hydro to other services. Not just tourism, but financial services and others.
Bhutan is a country that is in between two superpowers in many senses of the word. You have China in the north, India in the south. With India, you have a relationship that goes a long time back. President Modi was just here. You have been to India the other not too long ago. And obviously, this partnership seems to be a solid one that is going ahead as well. But then to the north, that you have China, officially you don't have any relations with them. There are headlines about certain issues concerning China. So my question, in a broader sense, Bhutan's place in the world and Bhutan's place in the region, how do you navigate that?
Bhutan is a small landlocked country sandwiched between giants. All around us, not just India and China, Bangladesh and Nepal, hugely populated countries, densely populated countries. And we, if anything, probably are underpopulated. We have a very small population. So we have our own path, and we navigate our own path. The journey has been very good so far. We've been blessed by enlightened monarchs. We've come a long way. Our biggest problem now is that there's an urgency to develop our economy. Now, we cannot develop our economy by compromising the environment, by compromising our culture, by compromising the happiness and well-being of the people. We need to be mindful for all that. The reason why the urgency is because in the social sector, in health and education, we've had poverty reduction. We've had unprecedented success. And so every child goes to school. Almost every child completes school, and everybody has free health care. And for a poor country, that's saying a lot. That is progress. However, as that many people enter the workforce, we need an economy. We need to provide meaningful jobs. And there we've been slow. So there we need to really accelerate progress, but the right type of progress without compromising ideals that we have been built on.
The last topic that I wanted to talk about is about tourism and Bhutan's image abroad. Bhutan's economy for a large part is relying on tourism, obviously very much affected by COVID-19. But do you think that post-pandemic, is there a change in mindset about how Bhutan is approaching tourism? Is it still going to target the high value, low number kind of way?
There's no two ways about it. Our tourism policy is high value, low volume. It has been high value, low volume. It is high value, low volume, and it will continue to be high value, low volume. We cannot go in for larger numbers simply because we do not have the absorptive capacity for large numbers of tourists. They will wreck the environment. Not because tourists want to wreck the environment, it's just the numbers. Our culture would be suffocated, not because tourists want to, but numbers would suffocate our culture. And so it has to be low volume. When it is low volume, how do you make it low volume? By high value. And so what numbers are we talking about? Right now we get 100,000 tourists. We are targeting 300,000 tourists a year. That's it. We cannot absorb more than 300,000 tourists a year. People talk of a quota to visit Bhutan. We actually don't have a quota. But I can tell you the quota is 300,000. We don't have a firm quota. But as Prime Minister, my quota I set informally is 300,000. We cannot absorb more than 300,000 tourists a year.
I want to talk about the image of Bhutan abroad and how the tourism also plays part of a role as well. In a TED Talk in 2016, you said that Bhutan is not a big monastery populated by happy monks. So basically my question to that is, in the context of that quote that you said, that do you think that the world is still mythifying Bhutan too much, that people have a wrong perception about Bhutan?
When I said Bhutan is not a large monastery populated by happy monks, I meant it in the context of the outside world thinking of Bhutan as Shangri-La, the last Shangri-La. So yeah, mythifying Bhutan. Is there a problem with that? No. we've been mythified as the happiest people on earth. We cannot be the happiest people. There must be other happier people. We have our challenges, a lot of challenges. We are ultimately still a poor country. Yeah, there are many reasons why we should be happy, not least of which is because we are blessed with enlightened kings who do so much for us. There's a lot of certainty in Bhutan. So yeah, we are happy, but not necessarily the happiest people. And there are other, everybody being a Buddhist, a practicing Buddhist, Shangri-La, yeah. We are lucky that when the outside world mythifies Bhutan, it's in a good way.
So you find it flattering?
Aspirational. They're not flattering, but we should aspire to be better versions of that. We can aspire to be better versions of that. Outside world thinks it's very difficult to get to Bhutan. It's extremely expensive to get to Bhutan. The fact of the matter is both are wrong. It's easy to get to Bhutan, and it's not that expensive. So in a way that hurts us a bit, right? Because potential tourists would want to go to Bhutan, put it in their bucket list, but never get down there because of the myth of Bhutan being difficult to get to, very expensive to get to. But that is also good in its own way. Because when people eventually get to Bhutan, breathe our air, taste our water, meet our people, engage with us, connect with us, there's a tremendous sense of satisfaction.
Is it maybe also because the people are misunderstanding cultural conservation with keeping things the way they are?
You enjoy one's culture because it gives you a sense of being, purpose, identity, your brand. Culture has very important role to play in terms of providing values also to the people, right? Common values among the people. But culture should not be seen as an archaic practice, something for the museum, a living museum. No. Culture, an age-old culture, can be consistent with a modern country in modern society and can be richer for it, in fact.
My very last question, how do you think, I mean, we have been talking about the future of Bhutan and the pitch, the vision about what Bhutan will be, should be. Where do you think Bhutan's journey is heading? How it will look like when we are not at the end of the journey, because I think that it will be going on for a while, but how it would be look like along the way?
The development philosophy of gross national happiness, that material progress is important, but that progress must be sustainable, and it must be equitable, and it must be balanced with social progress, environmental preservation, cultural protection, and good governance. This framework has served us well, this development philosophy. The ideals and values of this particular development philosophy of gross national happiness has served us well. Are we there yet? No, we have many challenges. What should we aspire to? What do I aspire to? Is building on those principles, ideals of gross national happiness, so that our future generations can enjoy the fruits of gross national happiness as we do today.
Prime Minister, thank you very much.
Thank you.